Hi there, Citizen Smart here. I've got a dodgy voice from singing too much, but I'm not singing today. I'm here to talk about something I think is important. Specifically, it's about the appearance of a bigot, a racist and a fascist on a Better Together official referendum broadcast campaign into every Scottish home last night, 6:30 on STV, 7 o'clock on BBC One. Her name, Yvonne Hanna. She was in that video saying nothing particularly offensive, but the reality is she should never have been in that video. Why? Because 24 hours or more before that video went out, Better Together at the absolutely highest level knew fine well she was a bigot, a racist and a fascist, because they had seen a whole series of tweets and retweets and comments that were so vile, anti-Catholic, obscene, that I'm not going to repeat them. If you want to find out what she was saying, go look on the internet, it's all over it. In fact, there's probably 10 times worse, because surprise, surprise, Better Together's reaction in hearing this was not actually to boot her out and take her out of the broadcast, but to tell her to shut down all her social media accounts so people couldn't do any more searching. That is the mindset of the people that are running the Better Together campaign. Specifically, I'm calling them out. Blair McDougall, Labour Party member, personal appointee, a darling, well known to the lot of them. One of them, Joanne Lamont, probably a personal friend even, with Ed Miliband. He's one of them. Labour Party card-carrying member. His decision when confronted with a bigot and a racist in his broadcast wasn't to take her out the broadcast, but to spend time trying to delete the evidence and the trail which would have absolutely buried her. Believe me, I'm absolutely certain of that. So what that campaign did was basically give a platform to a fascist into the homes of every home in Scotland, and it was not just the Better Together's first official referendum broadcast of the campaign, it was the first ever. They got in ahead of yes. So a campaign we've been told by everybody, we've got to keep it civil, we've got to make it civilised, where supposedly the main offenders are all in the yes camp, all these vile cybernats, etc., etc. And they're there, they're handfuls, they're marginal people, but they're there. But here's at the absolute highest level, the official broadcast of Better Together, their first ever. It must have been signed off by Darling. It must have been signed off by Blair McDougall. Then the only question is, when confronted 24 hours before the broadcast, what was the precise micro decision making? Who made the decision to put it out? Now, I work in television. I used to work in television. Believe me, much as you slave to craft a film, the making of last-minute changes. I've had programmes that literally have had edits done to them 15 minutes before they go on air. So 24 hours to edit someone out of broadcast is actually a piece of proverbial piss. They could have done that easily, put in other people. There was plenty of other people. They would have reams and reams and reams. They could have made that a 25-minute broadcast. They had to get it down to 3. So they could just have whipped her out, put in some other people, made some of the other clips. But they not only kept her in, they gave her 3 clips in a 3-minute video, because they somehow or other thought she put points well, she sounded kind of working class, she was from Airdrie. Irrelevant. She's a bigot, a racist and a fascist, and should never have made that cut. So I think this is something absolutely fundamental. Scottish media, where are you? I mean, are you sleeping? I mean, seriously, do you honestly think if some remotely equivalent had happened in the Yes campaign and an official or even some unofficial thing like Wings or something that had said something remotely or given a platform to a fascist, the Scottish media would be all over it. But they're asleep. They're asleep because it's so high up. They're frightened. They're actually frightened of taking on Darling and all his people. Let's be blunt. The woman Yvonne, Darling shared a platform with her, an official BT event a few weeks back. Now, I don't necessarily blame Darling for that. He must do lots of these meetings, but he would be familiar with him. He must have socialised with him. He must have shaken her hands. He must have formed some sort of opinion of her, even without necessarily knowing anything about her cyber tweets. So when they're presented with this documentary evidence, lots of it, 24 hours before the broadcast came out, there is only one decision. Take her out, boot her out, disown her. But as I say, they protect her by getting her to delete her account, and they keep her in completely and utterly unedited. The only question, frankly, is who took the ultimate decision? Was it just Blair McDougall, or was Darling involved as well? Or were there other people involved, communications directors? Bluntly, whoever it was, one outcome there: resign or be sacked for such a monumental, obscene effort That's the only thing, the only message that can go out from Scotland, let alone the Better Together campaign, is not only that we don't tolerate racism and fascism, we're even less tolerant of people who try and cover up for them. And that's exactly what McDougall did. So I'm just saying this. I used to be in the Labour Party. I know McConnell. My brother's Ian Smart. Enough said about him. But Pauline McNeill, Frank McAveety. I'm using these names, Frank McAveety, Pauline McNeill, and another person who I don't actually know, but I know of, and is a decent person, Claire Lally, who was in the broadcast and spoke well. I don't agree with her. But again, look at that name, Claire Lally. She ended up appearing virtually alongside, juxtaposed against someone who basically has got a vile view of the Irish, Scottish, Irish Catholic community, I'm not going to say. Now, she was in that video, and Claire, I know you've got a bit of fight on you, but I'm asking you to do one of the bravest things you've ever done. Speak out against Blair McDougall. Speak out against the people who put you in that video alongside a fascist and someone who holds your community, people like you, in absolute contempt and has got no place in an independent Scotland, a devolved Scotland, a completely pure union Scotland, no place at all in our country, in our political dialogue, but ends up on the main broadcast alongside you, and I dare say lots of other pretty decent Laboury people are in that broadcast. I recognise some shop stewards, but you ended up in that video, and that's the very reason we have a no platform policy, because that's how fascism gets a grip. It gains credibility by appearing alongside otherwise credible people, alongside Darling, alongside Claire Lally, alongside shop stewards from Scotstoun. And that decision was consciously taken by the leadership of the Better Together campaign. Think about it. This actually goes far, far deeper than the case for and against independence. And that's why I'm asking people, and I've named them, to speak out. Get that broadcast, and it's online now, immediately pulled down. Re-edit it by all means. I'm not trying to silence you. Get it offline completely. Demand to know precisely what happened, precisely what the chain of command is. The Tories should be asking this as well, so should the Libs, so should anyone in the official Better Together campaign. But I'm addressing this directly to the Labour Party, who have long had a policy, people in the Labour Party and the left Labour Party have long had a policy of no platform for racism and fascism. I'm directing this very, very directly with them. Find out what happened, and once you find out what happened, take action, because it's no enough just to rap a few knuckles. It's happened. The broadcast went out. Your campaign's been done immense damage. It will be exploited. It will be exploited even by people like me. It will be exploited by people who know like me. But I'm telling you, you need to sort this one out. It needs to be sorted out, and it comes down to what Better Together is about. It comes about the people. Here's who's running the Better Together campaign. There's some decent folk that are voting no. They're wrong, but they're decent folk. But here's who's running the Better Together campaign. A lot of young Blairites, card-carrying members of the Labour Party, but Blairites. And they're funded by vile Tory money. Not just Tory money, the worst type of Tory money, the Ian Taylor type of Tory money. And that's the combo that is the Better Together campaign. And you've been warned and warned and warned about where you'll end up. And we're still a month from the decision. Well, you've ended up last night with a fascist in your broadcast, consciously approved by the guys that are running your campaign. And it was a slick broadcast. I don't know how much it cost, paid for by Ian Taylor and his ilk. That's where you are. That is the reality. We've still got a month to go. Fix it. Better still, see the light and see what side of history you're on. But I'll leave you to think about that. Just get this broadcast fixed, get it removed, get apologies to Claire Lally and everyone else that took part in it, and boot McDougall or whoever else was involved in that decision. End of. I've said enough. But believe me, I feel really bloody strongly in this, and I'm not going to go away. And Scottish media, waking up. Waking up, for God. You wonder why no one's buying newspapers. You wonder why folk are turning off the telly. I mean, this is a great story. You should be chasing Darling. You should be outside his house, right? You should be finding out more about this woman, but you're ignoring it because you're frightened to take on the Labour Party establishment in this Scotland. You're shitting yourself. You subconsciously worry about your jobs. You subconsciously worry about the tap on the shoulder, the reassignment to proverbial Afghanistan, or the Lennox Herald, with respect to it. Because I know how these people work. I know how Brun works. I know the sanctions he takes. I know the quiet words with people on top, but this is a time to stand up and be counted, because we're on the brink of something good. We're going to win our liberation, and we're going to clear this country of the likes of Yvonne Hanna's, and we're going to clear this country of complacent journalists who just can't see their nose for their bloody face. And we're going to create a tighter society in which folk like Yvonne Hanna never, ever get near any form of official party political or election broadcast, but any party, let alone the Better Together campaign run by Blairites in the Labour Party, because that's where you end up. You end up in Iraq, and you end up with this. These people are soulless, worse than Tories. Tories have souls. These people would sell anything. And they sold you down the river last night. And they sold Scotland down the river. Make them pay a price.